Have you ever wished you could just reprogram your own mind? Feel differently on command, learn way faster, or just stay totally calm when things get crazy? Well, today we're diving into something called neuro-linguistic programming, or NLP for short. It's this powerful way to understand and even rewrite the very code that's running your brain.
So here's the game plan. First, we'll talk about what it even means to reprogram your mind. Then, we're going to dig into the origin story of NLP, how it started as the science of excellence. After that, we'll uncover this idea of your brain's inner map, see how you literally create your own reality, and finally, wrap up with the incredible power this gives you to change just about anything.
All right, let's jump right in with the basics. At its heart, NLP is really about getting your hands on the instruction manual for your own mind.
Okay, let's break this down because it sounds kind of complex, but it's not. Neuro. That's all about your nervous system, right? Your brain, your body, the whole shebang. Linguistic, that's the language you use, both what you say out loud and that little voice inside your head. And programming, well, that's just the idea that you can change your automatic patterns, your go-to responses. So put it all together. NLP is literally about using language to change how your brain and body react to, well, everything. So why should you care about this? I mean, the applications are just incredible. Imagine being able to consciously manage how you feel from one moment to the next, or staying cool, calm, and collected, even during really stressful times. What if you could speed up the way you learn new things, or become a way more persuasive, influential communicator? That's what NLP promises. So where did this powerful stuff even come from? It's interesting. It didn't start in some sterile lab. It actually started by studying people who were already total rock stars at what they did. It all kicked off back in 1976 with this unlikely duo, a mathematician, Richard Bandler, and a linguist, John Grinder. And they asked this really fascinating question. What if we could figure out exactly what makes super effective people so good at what they do? So they studied three legends in the world of therapy, Fritz Perls, Virginia Satir, and the famous hypnotherapist Milton Erickson, to try and create a model, a blueprint that anyone could use to get similar amazing results. And this brings us to the absolute core process of NLP. It's called modeling. It's basically the art of breaking down excellence into tiny, learnable pieces. We're not just looking at what people do, but how they think, the questions they ask themselves, the way they talk to themselves inside their own heads. Once you figure out that recipe, you can reproduce it for yourself. Okay, so this all sounds great in theory, but does it actually work in the real world? Well, let's look at a classic, really high-stakes example. The U.S. Army actually hired NLP practitioners to overhaul their sharpshooter training program, and wow, the results were just stunning. Get this, before NLP, the training took 4 long weeks, and the pass rate was only about 20%. Not great. So the NLP modelers came in and they just studied the top 5 sharpshooters. They figured out their key mental strategies, their physical cues, everything. Then they rebuilt the entire training program around that model. The result? The new program took just 7 days. And the pass rate? It went through the roof. It skyrocketed to over 80%. I mean, think about that. They didn't just make it a little bit better. They completely transformed the results, all by modeling excellence. This is just a brilliant, real-world example of how powerful this approach can be. Okay, that kind of transformation is just astounding, right? And it wasn't just about teaching them how to hold a rifle. The real breakthrough, the secret sauce, was modeling the mindset of the top performers. So how is that even possible? How can a mental strategy have such a huge real-world effect? Well, it all comes down to this absolutely central concept in NLP, your brain's inner map of the world. The source material puts this perfectly. If you get this next idea, if you really truly grasp it, it is all downhill from here. Everything else will just click into place. So think of it like this. Every single second, there's this massive flood of information hitting your senses. We're talking 2 million bits of it. That's raw reality, what NLP calls the territory. But here's the thing. Your brain can't possibly handle all of that. So it acts like a bouncer at a club. It filters everything. It deletes what it thinks is unimportant, it distorts things to fit what you already believe, and it generalizes based on your past experiences. So what actually gets through to your conscious mind? Just a tiny, tiny fraction. That's your personal map of reality. And here's the kicker. It's this map, not the raw territory, that you use to decide what everything means and how you're going to respond.
Now, I know that might sound a little bit abstract, so let's look at how this plays out in a really personal, really tangible way. So, the speaker in our source material tells this fantastic story. One morning, he was just going about his normal day, but something huge had changed. He just found out his wife was pregnant. His internal filters had been completely reset overnight. So, as he was driving to work, a drive he'd made thousands of times before, he suddenly started seeing things that were always there, but had been totally invisible to him. He saw a pregnant woman walking down the street, a car with a baby on board sign. He even noticed for the very first time that the coffee shop he went to every single day was right next to a daycare center. The world, the territory, hadn't changed at all, but because his internal focus had shifted, his map of reality was completely redrawn. And this is such a brilliant metaphor for how our filters work. Think of your brain like a stereo receiver. All the information is out there, right? The country station, the jazz station, the talk radio, they're all broadcasting. But you can only tune in to one channel at a time. And whatever you focus on is what you perceive, to the exclusion of everything else. And this filtering process, it goes even deeper. It's not just about what we notice on the outside, but the meaning we give to things on the inside. So think about the physical feeling of your heart rate going up. By itself, that sensation is totally neutral. It's just a thing happening in your body. But the story you tell yourself about it is what creates your reality. Is it the terror of a near miss in your car, or is it the excitement of that first huge drop on a roller coaster? The physical feeling is identical. The story is everything. And this right here, brings us to the most empowering idea in all of NLP. If we're the ones creating our own experience through our mental maps and our stories, what does that mean for our ability to change? This is the single biggest takeaway. So if you remember one thing, make it this. We respond to our map of reality, not reality itself. So what does that actually mean? It means all the meaning we experience is subjective. It's fiction, in a way. It's totally open to interpretation. And if we're responding to our own map, then the meaning we give to events isn't some absolute truth. It's a story we've constructed. And you know what the best part about a story is? It can be edited. Just think about the implications here. If your map can change, what else is possible? That story you tell yourself, like, oh, I'm terrible at public speaking, that's just part of your map. It's not a fact about the world. So you can use a simple NLP technique called reframing. You just take that story and put a new frame around it. Instead of saying, I'm terrified of speaking, you could reframe it as, wow, I feel a huge rush of energy before I get to share my ideas. Same physical feeling, completely different story. That belief that you're not a social person, or the idea that you could never run a marathon, these are just stories. And if you change the frame, you change the entire experience. So this all leads to a really profound and powerful question for you. If you can recognize that the limiting stories you've been telling yourself about who you are and what you're capable of are just that, just stories, then that means you're the one holding the pen. So my question is, what will you write next?